COVID-19 pandemic, super contagious coronavirus, shelter in place, quarantine. Some are unemployed, some are overemployed, getting overtime. Some people are on the front lines, some people are on the sidelines. Some watching the stock market run up and down like a roller coaster or worse. There's been a lot of finger pointing. It's all their fault. No, it's all their fault. It can't be my fault, so it must be their fault. Finger pointing everywhere. Life always brings storms. There have been storms from time to time. This one just happens to be bigger than anybody can remember. And this is what I would call like unstable, unpredictable hurricane. Perhaps you remember the movie Perfect Storm and the ship that was caught in these three different storm fronts coming together in one place. And well, that was, if you remember that movie, folks, that was mild compared to what I think we're going through right now. This is an unstable hurricane going crazy. The world shifted a few weeks ago. There was a change. There seems to be no end to the uncertainties. Constant question, when will we get back to normal? A lot of things will come back, but it won't be the normal we used to know, because we will have experienced the COVID-19 pandemic, and we will think and act and do things differently, and we should. In times like these, internally, invisibly, silently, we began to ask haunting questions. We began to allow our hearts to ask questions. We may not recognize them, we may not think about them, we may deny their existence, but they're there. I speak from experience. I thought I was handling things pretty well until this week. I had one particularly very bad night of sleep. Several nightmares. Some of them I don't remember. All I remember is waking up scared and realizing, you're a little more upset by this than you thought. We are not the first people to go through scary times. We sometimes act like we are, sometimes worry about it, sometimes, but we're not. The human race has been through a lot of these things. Our hearts begin asking questions, though, in times like this. That the ancient psalm writer in Psalm 77, he asked questions. Perhaps you've been asking these questions too, or something like them. The psalm writer says, I ask, will the Lord reject me forever? Will he never again show me his mercy, his favor? Will his loyal love disappear forever? Has his promise failed forever? Has God forgotten to be merciful? Has his anger stifled his compassion? Then I said, I am sickened by the thought that the sovereign one might become inactive. I think it's safe to say that 99.999% of us have been sickened, not by the virus, but by questions like these. In the middle of this storm, with all of its uncertainty and unpredictability, we've been asking questions. Invisibly, internally, silently, asking haunting questions. Well, as I said, we're not the first to go through storms. In Luke chapter 8, verses 22 to 25, there's an account of Jesus and his disciples. One day, it says in verse 22, one day he got into a boat with his disciples. Jesus got into a boat with his disciples. I'm not quite sure what you perceive or think of when I say he got into a boat. I want to tell you something. It was, first of all, not a ski boat, not a power boat. It was a sailboat. But it wasn't a tiny little rowboat either. They found remnants of fishing boats from the days when Jesus was on the Sea of Galilee with his disciples, and they were like 30 feet long, 7 or 8 feet wide. They were big boats. One day Jesus said to his disciples, let's go to the other side of the lake. So they set out. At least 4 of them were professional fishermen who had grown up on that lake and knew how to boat. And as they sailed, he fell asleep. And a windstorm came down on the lake. And they were filled with water. The boat and the people were being drenched with water, and they were in danger. Now I'm going to pause right there. I have always, ever since I was a child and first heard this story, I wonder how could Jesus sleep through howling winds and crashing waves and screaming men? I mean, when professional fishermen who spent their life on boats in this lake and gone through storms are screaming, you would think it would wake you up. Now, I know Jesus was human and he was exhausted from ministry. That's one of the reasons he wanted to get away with his disciples. They were all tired. But even exhausted people wake up with loud noises or water slapping them in the face. So how did Jesus sleep through this? The story goes on to say that they went and woke him up saying, Master, Master, we are perishing. We're drowning. Now, I want to give them points right here because in a moment they're going to get in trouble. But for right now, I want to give them points for knowing where to go and what to do. They went to Jesus and they asked him for help. They called on Jesus for help. And he woke. Jesus awoke and rebuked the wind and the raging waves, and they ceased. And there was a calm. And he said to the disciples, he said to them, where's your faith? So I got to stop right there again and ask, what did Jesus mean? Where's your faith? I think one of the reasons we may ask that question is we have a tendency to misunderstand faith in one of 2 ways, or a combination of these. One of the ways that we misunderstand faith is that some of us think faith is simply believing in God's existence. And most of the people in our society, pull after pull after pull after pull, tells us that people in our society, here in the United States in particular, believe in an existence of God or a supreme being of some sort. Whether it's the God of Jesus, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they believe in a God. They believe in the existence of God. And for many people, that's the sum total of faith. And so when Jesus asks this question, where's your faith? It's like, for some, we're thinking, did he just call them atheist? The other possibility is, our misunderstanding is that we talk as if faith is something that you can use to, well, we won't probably say it quite like this, but it's what we mean. Faith is something we use to control what God does. If you have enough faith, you'll get what you want. Or if you get enough people around you with enough faith, then you'll get what you're asking for. But I don't think that's what Jesus means. It seems to me that for Jesus, faith and relationships weave together to bring people into his kingdom family. For Jesus, faith has a lot to do with relationships and very little to do with just believing in God's existence or getting what you want when you talk to him. For Jesus, faith involves the belief that, yes, that God exists because, well, you can't have a relationship with somebody you don't believe in. But also, it is belief in the fact that his character is holy and loving and he is completely trustworthy. Faith involves trusting God's holy nature and his honesty and his integrity and his ability and willingness to keep every promise he's ever made to you. Faith involves loyalty as a response from us, to a loyalty to God by voluntarily aligning our wills with his will. In other words, we trust him enough to obey him. So Jesus says, where is your faith? And I think what he's saying is not, are you a bunch of atheists? Or, if you believed a little bit more, you could have just told the storm to be quiet. I don't think that's what he was saying. I think this question was what he was saying, where's your confidence? Where's your confidence in our Father's love? Where's your trust in his holy character? Where's your willingness to align yourself with him? So Jesus woke up and rebuked the wind and the raging waves, and they ceased, stopped. There was a calm. And he said to them, where is your faith? And they were afraid.